The following was recorded at a Burger King drive-thru at breakfast.
Morning, welcome to Burger King.
Can I get a bacon, egg, and cheese croissant sandwich?
Yeah, me too. I'll have a croissant.
So one says croissant and one says croissant.
Yeah.
Don't you guys know it's croissant rich? And they're just 2 for $4.
Okay, weirdo. Can we drive up now?
Piled high with thick-cut bacon or savory sausage, fluffy eggs, and melted cheese. Get 2 croissant breakfast sandwiches for just $4. Only at Burger King. Limited time only. Price and participation vary.
All right, you hit the download button on the Steve Austin Show Unleashed podcast, where everything flies, and 4-letter words are good friends of mine. So I done had me a diet Red Bull, and I took some Alpha Brain, and that's a straight-up shoot, because if I didn't just take my Alpha Brain, I'll kiss your ass. And that means I'm locked and loaded and ready to open up a serious can of audio whoop-ass just for you. Y'all know what Onnit's Alpha Brain does for me. Keeps me razor sharp, laser focused, firing on all cylinders. Alpha Brain helps my memory, too. And y'all know that my memory can be the drizzling shit sometimes because all the damn cherry shots I took in a squared circle. Hell, moving on, Alpha Brain can help your ass out, too. All you got to do is order it at onnit.com/Steve. And if you order it at onnit.com/Steve, you'll get 10% off your order. In fact, you can get 10% off anything you order at onnit.com/Steve. And that includes Shroom Tech Sport and T+. Shroom Tech Sport, we're going to give your workout a whole new boost. It's going to help you go longer, help you recover faster. Ain't loaded up with a bunch of BS artificial ingredients. And T Plus increases strength and power. It will improve your athletic performance, and it's safe to use if you're competing. Hello. So go take advantage of this 10% discount off your order right now. Just go to onnit.com/Steve. And hey, there's another great thing about Onnit and all their products. If they don't work the way they're supposed to, you can get all your damn money back, no questions asked. Money back guarantee. Hello. Go to onnit.com/Steve to get your 10% discount off all your supplements. That's onnit.com/Steve to get 10% off your order.
The following program is a podcast1.com production. He started in a small town in Texas. Worked his ass off to become one of the most famous wrestlers of all time.
We're going to take care of business tonight, and that's the bottom line.
And now he's dominating the world of on-demand audio. And he's doing it for the working man.
This is a damn good outlet for me to spew the bullshit off my brain.
Yeah! This is the Steve Austin Show. Unleashed.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to you from Hartwell, Georgia. Still out here working on this CMT project, and it's turning out gangbusters so far. I'm having a blast. I'm living in a house right on Lake Hartwell, and it's a badass house. And I got a badass jet ski out there that I've been riding around on the lake. It's a Kawasaki 310LX, and it's got a sound system on it that'll rock your socks off. So I got that going for me. And, you know, this lake has been so wonderful, and I've been wanting to come out here and actually capture some of the stuff that I do, but because I'm not so good with technology, I never can capture it. I bought myself a GoPro. I'm trying to figure that out. So I figured, man, what if I got a couple of cats down here to take some pictures and videos for me? So those guys are Chris Carey and Nathan Mowery. And they work at the DDP Yoga Performance Center. This is not a DDP Yoga plug right here. I'm fixing to get into a read for them. But I met these two guys when I was up there interviewing Jake, Scott, and Dallas. And they were the guys behind the scene, running the cameras, running the sound. And so I was talking to Dallas. He goes, bro, hire a couple of my guys down there to come with you and shoot whatever you want to shoot. So I said, okay, I'll take you up on that. So Chris Carey and Nathan Mowery are on my podcast today. They are my guests. We're going to talk a little bit about the behind-the-scenes filming of the Jake the Snake Roberts documentary, The Resurrection of Jake Roberts. It's not a plug for that either. These are two guys who work behind the scenes, and then we're going to talk about how they got their start, because I do this show by the working man for the working man. When you want to see some working motherfuckers, that's the guys that I got on this show, Chris and Nathan. They're absolutely wonderful at their jobs. So basically one's a camera guy and a creative guy, and the other guy's more of an editing type guy, and they're like frickin' frack. They're like peanut butter and jelly. They're really, really good friends, and you're going to hear about them paying their dues, how they met up with each other, how they came to meet Dallas Page and then be involved in the movie. And I tell you what, man, I met these guys a couple weeks ago. Like I said, brought them out here, and they worked their ass off. And We needed to get a podcast done the other night, and we sat down. We started talking about the behind-the-scenes stuff. Those guys are fire breathers, or whatever you call them. They do that kind of stuff, and it's kind of crazy. We'll talk about that in the podcast here today. And they also helped me record the 3 and 20 band, which was just here last night as I record this. And the 3 and 20 band is a band that you really can't put in a box. They're country boys, but they like country hip hop. And Daniel and Rusty, some of those guys are real metal heads, but they've created a band called the 3 and 20 band that's just as dynamic, and you can't really put them in a box. And their CD, their debut CD, is in my tractor, my Komodo tractor, down there in Tilden, Texas. And I rock that damn CD straight up. It's a shoot. Every time I mow down there, that's the only thing I play in my CD player because I dig the vibe of that music. So they're going to be my guests coming up on the Thursday's Unleashed podcast. And we just have a jam session. It's a jam/bullshit session that I really, really think you're going to do. Pay attention to my song of the day at the back end of this podcast because it's going to give you a little dose of what you got coming. But I really think you're going to dig what these guys are all about. Just a bunch of guys that none of them are related, but they're brothers. I mean, these guys have been through everything together and have formed a bond as friends, basically brothers. And you talk about heart and soul in their music. I don't give a shit what kind of music you like. When you hear some music that's got heart and soul and it's real, that's what these guys do. We captured this on camera. Nathan and Chris videoed this, and so we're going to turn this out somehow, some way down the line, but the audio version is going to be available first, and that's going to be starting next Thursday on the podcast. I had a great time hanging out with those guys. I've been keeping up with the lead singer. One of the lead singers, there's 2 lead singers, Butch and Adrian, and the rest of the guys, Daniel, Jim, and Rusty. But I've been keeping up with Butch for about the last year. And we've been talking about this podcast, talking about it, and finally it happened because I didn't want to talk to these guys on the phone because of what they do. That wouldn't have been worth a shit. So they came here live and in living color, and Nathan and Chris captured all this badassness. And they, man, let their hair down. I came off my diet, had a couple of beers with them, and you're going to dig the show that you hear. And then I got to go out there on my jet ski. I know I told you guys I got a GoPro, but, man, me and a GoPro, we're forming a relationship, but right now I'm not too much into the technology part of that. Good thing I had Nathan and Chris. I got out on that Kawasaki 310LX jet ski, and, man, I rode around, cut some donuts, hauled ass, and one time they were sitting on my dock at the end of my pier, and I came by, and because I ride that jet ski all the time, it's my release valve out here. Almost every day when I get a chance, I go out there and get on that lake on that jet ski. It's like riding Buck the Mule at the Broken Skull Challenge. But I had never rode it around anybody, so I didn't know, how far that thing would throw water if I was to spray somebody. So Chris and Nathan were at the end of the dock, and they were running cameras. I think those cameras cost about $3,000 or $4,000. And, man, I rode by, and I cut a left on that thing, and I threw a damn wave that must have been 15 foot tall and totally soaked both of them. So I didn't know what I'd done. So I kept zipping around. Chris gives me the wave. He's waving me in. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess he's got an idea. He goes, hey, man, you soaked all the cameras. We got to dry everything off and hope that it will continue to work. And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, man. And I gave him the whole spiel. I said, I never rode this thing around anybody. I don't know how far the water would go when you spray somebody. So anyway, it turns out, I told Chris, I said, dude, if my water has broken any part of your cameras, I'll buy you a new one because I wasn't going to mess those guys over and fuck up their gig. That's some high-dollar equipment they're out there using with me. So turns out everything was okay. We had a blast. Got a couple of tumbles off the jet ski. Actually got in Lake Hartwell. Had to do my famous dog paddle and my backstroke. So Chris and Nathan are my guests on the show today. I had a blast working with them. They worked their asses off. It was funny. We had to rig up this house. This is a wonderful house that I'm staying in on here in the lake. Where do you guys see some of this video? And so we're trying to rearrange it so we can capture everybody on the 2 cameras. Nathan's running a handheld, Chris is on a tripod, and also monitoring the sound. So, man, I'd had an all-day shoot day where we filmed 1 episode in 1 day. And, man, that's a lot of damn work. So I was pretty tired, and I was like, dude, I said, I got another elimination tonight. I said, you guys just go ahead and do what you're going to do. I'm going to go get flat for about 30 minutes. Now, I don't sleep during the daytime. I can't take a nap, but I just want to get flat. And they were still out there moving furniture, and I said, guys, I said, y'all take it easy, man. You're not keeping me awake. I just want y'all to take it easy and relax a little bit. And they said, no, Steve. He goes, this is what we love to do, and this is our passion. So I'm like, God damn, Dallas Page knows how to hire some quality people because these motherfuckers love what they do. I love my job too. These guys are so fired up, man. They're moving the furniture around like a bunch of damn pros. So anyway, they did their thing. 3 and 20 came over and absolutely crushed it with a damn jam session. You'll dig. Kawasaki jet ski filming was awesome. Got some badass pictures. My publicist is absolutely wonderful. But my publicist hates my guts because I hate to take pictures. And Chris Carey snapped some great still shots of me while he was down here. And he got a few of me at the DDP Yoga Performance Center when he asked, hey, man, you want me to do some headshots or something for you? So I took him up on it. So I was able to get a lot of work done here while I was down in Lake Hartwell. Lucky for me, I was able to interview those 3 guys, and then these 2 guys come along, interviewed them, talk about some cool shit with them, and they helped me so much with the 3 and 20 band and Kawasaki stuff and my professional stuff, my still shots, which I hate. So now if someone stops me in an airport, I actually have a picture of me that's not in a wrestling ring to give away. Now, I love signing wrestling pictures, but those pictures are over 13 years old, so that's how long I've been out of the ring. I love professional wrestling, but I've got to give out current pictures because I can't live in the past. So we got some great badass pictures of me doing some really cool shit. Well, anyway, with that being said, and we're talking so much about DDP Yoga, it's only fair that that's my first spot for today. So I got to say thank you to all of my sponsors who let me open 2 cans of audio whoop-ass for you guys for free, and that includes Diamond Dallas Page and DDP Yoga. Dallas has literally helped thousands of people change their lives with his DDP Yoga program, including Stacy Morse. Oh, Stacy struggled with her weight and had been over 300 pounds for more than 20 years of her life. She tried every diet. She tried every workout. She tried anything she could get her hands on, but she was never able to keep the weight off. But her life changed forever one day when she was watching Oprah. She was listening to Carney Wilson's story about a man named Dallas Page who helped Carney change her life. And Carney's story inspired Stacy to give Dallas, my old buddy DDP, and his DDP Yoga a try. Stacy started the DDP Yoga program in 2009, weighing in at 345 pounds. And in just 18 months, she lost 185 pounds and went from a size 28 to a size 8. And now, 6 years later, the weight is still off. Today, Stacy continues to live the healthy lifestyle that DDP Yoga guided her to, and she's even released her own cookbook memoir. I've seen Stacy's pictures, the videos, and they're visual proof of her success. DDP Yoga can work for all ages, weight, and fitness levels. It provides a kick-ass cardio workout with minimal joint impact. That's why someone like Stacy, who can start at 345 pounds and even at her goal weight today, can still have amazing workouts with DDP Yoga. And right now, Dallas is giving you guys an amazing deal. All you have to do is go to ddpyoga.com/Austin and give it a try. Or at the very least, go to ddpyoga.com/Austin and check out Arthur's video. You'll see the power of DDP Yoga, and you'll want to let DDP help you change your life too. So check it out. Real deal. ddpyoga.com/Austin.
It's really big this week on the Big Podcast with Shaq as we're joined by Ludacris.
Hey, I want to commend you on the job you've done in all the Fast and Furious, but Fast and Furious 7 was probably my favorite.
Never in a million years did we think they were going to call us back for a 5 and then 6, 7, and, now 8, to be honest with you. I think I can go ahead and put that out there on this podcast, let them know we start shooting 8 in March.
Get me in, cuz. Can you crash me or something? Can you beat me up or something?
I'm going to holler at the people, see what we can do, man.
Yeah, man,
there's cars that you can fit in, man, so I'm trying to figure it out.
The Big Podcast with Shaq.
That's me. It's up right now at podcast1.com.
That's podcastone.com.
Steve Austin. Unleashed.
All right, we're rolling sound here in Lake Hartwell, Georgia. I'm sitting here with Chris and Nathan, two cats at work down there at the DDP Yoga Performance Center with my good buddy, Diamond Dallas Page. And y'all know I do the show. I'm a working man. I'm talking to two guys who work their asses off, but they're mainly behind the scenes. I'm talking to Chris and Nathan. Chris, let's start with you. I got this from James Lipton off the Actors Studio. State your name.
My name is Chris Carey.
Where were you born?
Landstuhl, Germany.
You were?
Yep.
I'm going to keep up my questions. What year were you born?
1984.
When's your birthday?
December 22nd.
Where are you right now?
Smyrna, Georgia.
No, you're not.
Oh.
You're in Lake Hartwell, Georgia.
Lake Hartwell, Georgia.
Yeah, I said right now. You aren't listening to me. As we record this podcast, it's 11:40 p.m. We've been through a long day. These guys got here in the early afternoon, so they're already fading on me. If we have to redo this thing tomorrow, we're going to. So you're here in Lake Hartwell. You understand that, right, Chris?
I understand that.
Okay. What do you do for a living?
Jack of all trades, but mostly in the video department.
Okay.
Do a lot of video and photo work.
Video and photo work. Okay, Nathan, you're sitting next to Chris on a couch. I'm over here in a chair. Nathan, state your name.
My name is Nathan.
Where are you from?
I am from Polk County, Tennessee.
What's your birthday? When were you born?
I was born on Christmas 1991.
Christmas kid.
Yeah.
Man, you get the birthday Christmas gift. My birthday's on December 18th, so I get all that. So you damn sure get it all. Yeah. This is your Christmas and your birthday present.
Oh, yeah. I just get, cheated every year.
Nathan, what do you do for a living?
I work in film production, do a lot of video stuff.
Okay, now I referenced earlier, you guys work with Diamond Dallas Page down there at the DDP Yoga Performance Center. How did you guys come to know Dallas and to become, working with him down there and doing what you do? Because I told Dallas when I was going to come down here, man, I said, after I went down there and talked to Jake the Snake Roberts, you guys have given me a lot of feedback over the interviews I did with Jake, Scott Hall, and Diamond Dallas Page, where these were the guys that filmed it and recorded it. So swig a beer for the working man. Nathan, how did you meet up with Dallas, and how did you come to be down at the Performance Center?
Yeah, it was actually through Chris. He actually got the job first, and there was one day he just called me because me and Chris used to be roommates back in the day.
Yep. Where at?
Here in Atlanta, or in Atlanta, Georgia.
Roommates in college, or just roommates living together?
Just roommates. There's this little house called the Thunderdome, and basically it's a
little house.
It's a little house, yeah, in the hood of Atlanta, Georgia, in East Atlanta. And it's just a house full with just a bunch of filmmakers and
a buddy of ours started a guy that we both know. He started a house that he calls a Thunderdome, and the whole goal is to get a bunch of like-minded guys together that are into the arts, mainly film and television. And the goal was to create a network of people that you can work with and learn with, and just kind of help each other out. And that's how he ended up coming about.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I'm talking to Chris now. We switched gears. So is this the Thunderdome? This place where you're paying your dues? You're trying to get your foot in the door and latch on with somebody?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think the best, the analogy is Dallas he calls them young guys. He says that, that's kind of what it is. Isaac, Kyle, and I were the first people to live in the Thunderdome, and Isaac and I were mostly established. I was established as an editor, AD. Isaac was doing a lot of directing work for music videos, and then after a little bit, we kind of squeezed out some space for Nathan to come in, and that was his college essentially. Right?
Yeah, it was kind of like my college experience. I was still pretty young. I was 19 and scared of the world.
Yeah,
I'm still pretty young. Yeah, that was too
okay.
long
Well,
ago.
with respect to education, if that was your college, Chris, where did you get your learning from?
I went to SCAD in Savannah. Savannah
what
College.
is that? I've heard the name. What does it mean?
Savannah College of Art and Design, and it's basically a
4-year degree.
Yep.
And you specialized in?
Film and television, new media distribution methods. So my degree was specialized in figuring out basically what we would be going to when it came to distributing film and television shows with how technology was moving at the time. So basically what Netflix is doing now and the way people are moving to a pay model on Vimeo and YouTube, that was basically my study at the beginning. Yeah.
Well, when were you in SCAD?
Oh, jeez, man.
Well, because, dude, you're still a young guy, too.
Yeah, when did you move into the Thunderdome?
I moved in 2011. So
2009 is when I graduated. 2008 was probably when I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, but back in the day, that you knew that this was what you wanted to do.
Oh, absolutely, man. I started out as a mechanical engineer or mechanical technician, no degree, working for my uncle, and I was okay at it. Like, I'm technically technically minded, but like I love holding the camera. I love shooting. I love story.
Dude, you guys come over. You're going to help me record the 3 and 20 band. And it's like, man, watching a couple of kids in a candy store. I was like, y'all take it easy. Just get settled in. They drove 100 miles from Atlanta. Yeah. I'm going to go lay down in my bedroom and just kind of chill because we got a long day at the office here with the reality television show. I mean, you guys are going crazy with the artistic setup. And I'm like, no. And they told me, said, Steve, this is what we're passionate about. This is what we do. I said, okay, I'm going to leave you alone. Okay, Nathan, back to you. He's got this college education. You're coming out of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. What was your goal? Okay, I'm going to get in the movie industry or sound?
Well, for me, it's like I wanted to. It's my story is very interesting. I kind of wanted just to move into Atlanta to kind of work in kind of the music video world, and I was like, man, it'd be cool if I could somehow also work in professional wrestling, and that's kind of ironic how everything kind of came about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird that I'm doing that now.
We used to bust his chops about being into wrestling.
Oh man, everybody used to hate he hated me so much.
Shelves of DVDs of wrestling DVDs, and it was really. I mean, at the time it was funny. I had no idea I was getting up for wrestling too, but you got into it because of Isaac. I mean, like, because of Family Force 5, right? Like,
yeah. So I was a fan of this guy Isaac, who we were talking about at the Thunderdome, and I used to like message him.
No, okay. So who was Isaac? Is he a guy pumping out music videos?
Yeah,
man.
So
okay.
He was someone that I looked up to. There's a band in Atlanta called Family Force 5, and they're kind of like a hip hop kind of rock kind of group. And super fun band. They were one of my favorite bands when I was a teenager, and Isaac did like their videos and stuff. And I got a hold of his email, and I used to just send him videos and be like, "Hey man, what do you think of this video? What do you think of this video? What do you think of this?"
So what were you doing? What were you doing to make your videos before you'd had any schooling?
Man, I've been doing videos since I was a little kid. Even when I was like 6 years old, I would have my mom's like. I was like when I was a little kid, I was doing the whole VHS, like 2 VHS things and doing recording stuff. I was that guy.
Dude, I mean, that's cool. When I say that guy, I mean that's cool as shit because I always want to be able to do something other than wrestle.
Yeah.
I was lucky to be gifted in that genre, but I always like people that can build something like we were talking today. People that can draw, do things like you guys
Definitely.
do. Okay, so then you end up going to, because you want to learn from Isaac. And so did you guys bond immediately? Or what was the story here, Chris? Because here comes the new kid on the block.
Not really. I mean, to be honest, like when he came in, he was so green, and we brought him into different projects and stuff as much as we could. But I honestly, I was not there a lot of times. I was working like 10, 12-hour days most of the time. So like I was kind of a ghost.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because I was so green. Like that's an understatement.
But what do you mean when you say you're so green? Because you were already making videos at the crib, but different technology.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I mean, for me, it was just kind of like I was a kid who wanted just to make videos. So I was making videos all the time with my friends and just doing little music videos for my friends' bands and things like that, and just not on a professional level. So I didn't really understand how to do things professionally. And I'm still to this day learning terms because I know how to do things. I just didn't know that there was a set way of doing that, like terminology and whatnot.
He's gotten a lot better at execution. Like he's always had I talk about him like he's like a kid, but he's not. I mean, he's my peer. He's absolutely my peer now. But when he first started out, it was rough because there's terminology, there's shorthand, there's a lot of things that you just kind of get used to doing and knowing, and everybody just kind of understands.
Right.
Your first critique with Isaac and I was probably the roughest, wasn't it? Like, I feel like you showed us, it wasn't Meanwhile in America, it was something else, but it was something really cool that you did, and you were like so proud of it.
Yeah,
and then the first
y'all had to shit on it?
I didn't shit on it, but I mean,
no, I think it
wasn't polite.
I think it was honest, and I think that's kind of what you want. I don't want everyone to have like that whole like mom syndrome where it's like, oh, everything you do is great, honey, you keep doing that. But it's like Chris and Isaac were both people where I was like, hey man, what do you think of this? I'm like, man, this sucks. It's like you didn't even try, and then I'm just like, what? I can't believe you're talking to me that way, and I would be so bummed. But then it would like make me like.
But when you're green, you kind of bristles you up. It gets on your nerves a little bit because I mean it's almost like my first match. When I had down in Tennessee and Dutch Mantel watched it and he cussed me out afterwards. I thought I'd really done good and I'd really shit the bed. But it was a lesson learned, and now I value that honesty because in the industry, so many times you'll get someone who'll kiss your ass or placate you, and they were stern with you, but they were honest. And that's the best critique that you can ask
I'd much
for
rather
is someone
have
who's
that,
honest. Because if you sugarcoat something, if you lollygag, sooner or later the truth is really going to come out. So let it come out. You want to be tactful when you do it, but spade's a spade.
Yeah, and the critique wasn't really like. I mean, it was like that. And the whole goal of someone was like, the way I try to do it now is that I say you can tell when somebody has a natural talent and ability. But that's also how I learned is that like a lot of the guys that started me out, like Peter Siagas is an amazing director in town, and he watched a couple of my works and a couple of things I did, and he's just like, yeah, I'm not really feeling that. Like, what was the reason why you're doing that? It's too long. Why did you not cut sooner? And, like things that like you want that you should be thinking about when you're doing the work. And that I could have been a little more tactful.
Hey man, so then what is talk about the magic of editing, and then let's talk about an inspirational video that's going to come out of DDP's place. Say it's a 5-minute piece. I mean, because like, man, if you gave me, I don't know, let's just call it 10 hours of footage, because I don't want to go haywire here, and it's a number I can wrap my head around. Yeah. And as hey, Steve, put this together and tell a story. I mean, that's the goal there, to tell a story, get a message across. Absolutely, yeah. Whether it's from rags to riches or riches to rags, or somewhere in between. It's all about the pacing, the editing. What is the magic in that? Because I mean, there's a way to capture the viewer, and to those early videos that you were doing that didn't turn them on so much. Nathan, what to you is the magic or the art in that?
Man, it's like it is just that art of storytelling. I believe that good art is causing an emotion in somebody, and even if it just is that inspiration. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of moving parts, whether it be just the music, because music in itself can like drive a lot of people, and just crafting that story. You want to take people like up and down through that whole journey, kind of give them that whole.
We have very different styles for editing. Like when he cuts, a lot of times he cuts to music. Like that's like his basis when he's like, is that right? Your basis a lot of times you start with some music or an emotional. Like he creates things where he's like he'll listen to something as he's cutting. I try not to listen to anything at all while I'm cutting a story first. I'll cut the story first, and then I'll try to find music that matches what I think I'm trying to do, because I'm so emotionally driven that if I pick a track, if I'm listening to something that's just like really driving, I'm like, and then it just doesn't feel right, So I try to let the story drive a little bit different. But that's not to take anything away from what he does. His strength is cutting that way. Like he does an excellent job at that.
Yeah, but it's like the old saying: there's more than one way to skin a cat. We're not going to skin a cat, but I'm just saying that's the thing. There's different ways to go about the process.
Definitely.
And so, like in setting up a match, my approach might be different than Dallas's. Yeah, totally. So you mentioned the term, Chris, earlier about young guys.
Yeah.
And so, how did you guys come to meet Dallas?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. So I used to work for a pretty popular music band, and I was just kind of looking for some extra work on the side and stuff, and saw a Craigslist ad. It's honestly the first time that I ever tried to find work through Craigslist, and I saw I think Steve had written, and it was basically just playing to my.
When you say Steve, you mean Steve Yu?
Steve Yu, yeah. Steve Yu's awesome, and so it was something that like it was like an ad that was written specifically for me, because it was like, hey, somebody that is able to look through hours and hours and hours of footage and is able to craft a beautiful story that could drive an emotion, and I said, yeah, I guess I can do that. and so I just
I'll give it a shot. Yeah.
So I sent them a couple of sample works, and then a little bit later I heard back, and then they invited me to a house, which at that time I wasn't really used to, like going to somebody's home to do anything really. Yeah. It was all studio based, and so like when I'm pulling up to Dallas's house, I'm like, what in the world am I about to do? so I called my girl, and I just let her know where I was, sent her the address, and said, if you don't hear back from me, this is what's up.
The Georgia Chainsaw Massacre. You know what you get yourself into.
Yeah.
So when you walked in, what was the vibe? Was it chill? I mean, was Dallas accommodating? I mean,
oh my gosh, it was super chill. It was a little bit of chaos, but it was just based on having a lot of people in your home. That's what kind of chaos it was, And I think when I walked in, I met with Steve, talked to Steve for a little bit, and showed him some more of my work, and then he got on. I think he texted or got on the phone, called Dallas, who was I didn't know at the time upstairs. I actually had no idea I was meeting Dallas. I had no idea. And then I hear somebody coming down.
But you're not really a wrestling fan like Nathan is. So did you know who he was?
Once he told me his name, I was like, oh shit. Really? Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, I marked out a little bit, but much in that way of like where you're like, oh, whoa, that's okay. Now I know who you are. Now what's going on here, and it was really cool. But I mean, like he came down. He's got like I don't know what would you call that chair? That one that he sits back in. That's
throne?
right next to the couch. Yeah, a little bit of a throne. Yeah,
a throne. Yes.
Yeah. So he comes down and he just crashes on there. He's got his phone. He's got his laptop and stuff. And he goes, "All right, what do you got?" And then he just threw it up on the TV and watched it and everything. It was pretty cool. And then I guess they liked what they saw and been there ever since. But
so then, how long were you there before Nathan came down the pike?
Months.
So then, months.
Just a few months.
Probably maybe like two, maybe two or three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, what did you do? You laid some groundwork. You got in with Steve. Okay, and tell me about Steve, because now, this podcast is not about the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts,
Right.
but that's some common thread which we're going to keep referring to because it was a big part of what you guys have just done. With respect to that, what is Steve U's job title, or what does he actually do at the Performance Center?
I'll start off and you can cap up. But,
okay, sounds good.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm such a I love Steve. Like, honestly, really, really, Steve is Dallas jokes around and calls him Spock. I just think of him as that person that he watches the thunderstorm happen and he just assesses what needs to happen, not in a methodical way, but in a way of he genuinely cares and genuinely pays attention to everything that's going on, to probably a detriment to him at times, because I can't imagine how many plates he spins. But he's just
and the man never sleeps.
Never sleeps.
And I think it's kind of obviously Dallas has a crazy work ethic, and I think Steve U complements that very well. They're just two guys who'd never go to sleep.
Absolutely.
That's just almost an urban legend level.
Yeah. So what is his title, though?
He's president of DDP Yoga, I believe, right?
He's See, that's the thing is there's a lot. Everybody has a kind of a title, but everybody puts in more than what that title is.
But then when you come in with the skills that you came from at the Thunderdome, what does he know that you don't? Is he a master of everything?
He's a master of a lot of things. He's honestly a really great creative mind. He's somebody that Dallas. So what happens a lot of times, Dallas says, it'd be cool if we did this, and then Steve goes, it'd be cool is if we did this, and this is how we could probably go about it.
Yeah.
And then he says, now you try to figure it out, and then Nathan and I gotta go, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, we can do that. We'll figure it out. We'll shoot it. Yeah.
I think, Steve is the guy that makes Dallas's ideas come to life.
Okay.
Dallas will be like, bro, wouldn't it be awesome if we did this, bro? Right. And then Steve will be like, yeah, we can do that. Let's get the wheels moving on that.
I mean, there were times in the beginning where I would get calls for web stuff, and I have no idea what to do about web stuff.
Yeah.
But Steve is that person that figures out who to direct it to, but he also, if you can't figure it out, Steve will most likely either know how to do it or will figure out how to do it and then teach it to you. So...
Okay, so then you get the hooks in, you're in, and then you say, hey, man, I got this dude named Nathan. He's pretty damn good at doing this. And so then, Nathan, you come aboard. What are your impressions? Because at this time, I'm guessing you guys were living in the house. Were you all living together at this time?
At Thunderdome. I just moved out.
I was still living there. You moved out
when
probably
did y'all all
a little
move to
earlier.
the accountability crib? Because weren't y'all all living under Dallas's
No,
roof at one time?
We weren't living in there. Well, practically, because we spent more time there than we did at our own houses.
Definitely
most of our
slept
days. But I was still living at the Thunderdome at the time, and then Chris just called me one day. He's like, hey, man, do you still like watching pro wrestling? And I was like,
that's true.
I was like, why, are you going to start busting my balls again? Is that what you want? And he's just like, no, I just was curious if you wanted a full-time job. I'm starting this thing with Jake the Snake Roberts and Diamond Dallas Page. It's like, yeah, right, dude.
Okay. Okay, hot shot. It's the biggest rib of all time. Click.
Yeah.
So what'd you say?
I was like, I didn't believe him. So he said, we'll have an interview for you. Just bring some examples of your work, and then we'll go from there. And I remember, showing it to him, and they're like, yeah, this is good. You can start whenever. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I ended up starting the next week, and I remember coming to the house and just being like, oh, man, I can't believe this. Sitting in my car, just because I am, a huge mark at heart still.
Well, I am too, dude. I mean, Dallas is one of my best friends. But
the lines of professionalism and fanboyness kind of got blurry there for a minute. But I remember walking into the house, and then I see Jake, and I'm just like, oh, my God, that's Jake the Snake Roberts. And I walk up to him, and then he's just like, I was like, hey, man, figured I'd introduce myself. I was like, hey, I'm Nathan. I'm going to be working here now. He's like, F off, kid. Your haircut's pissing me off.
I mean, to be fair, at the time, your haircut was pissing
It was,
off.
yeah. It was pissing a lot of people off with my haircut. But,
what were you doing with the mullet?
What was that?
Was it a mullet? What was it?
It was the same thing I got going now. It's kind of like this whole mullet mohawk thing I got going, you know?
Okay, see, Nathan,
trying to be cutting edge.
The side of his head is shaved, and the rest, he's got that long the mullet, shaved side.
Yeah.
So Jake didn't like it here?
No, he still doesn't like my hair.
What was your impression of Jake? You're a longtime fan. All of a sudden he shits on you after he just sticks his hand out and meets you.
You know, that was one of the things, because I was talking to Chris and Steve, and I was like...
So Chris smartened you up?
Yeah, I was just like, hey, is there anything I should know or be prepared for? He's like, just have thick skin and don't take anything personally. I was like, okay.
Dude, that applies to almost anything in life.
Yeah.
Words to live by.
Absolutely.
Especially in the wrestling business, especially with what you guys do.
I used to have very thin skin. I used to be offended pretty easy about things, and I learned really quick to have thick skin through just working with the wrestlers, because I came in kind of right when Jake and Scott were still there, and while they're still kind of going through their whole recovery period. And
they were still living under the roof when you came in.
So it was still pretty early on, kind of like at the climax of all the chaos. So. It was still good.
Yeah. They actually were. We were where we were editing. I don't know if did you see the house at all while we were still there? We had edit bays that faced out actually towards Jake's room at one point.
No, I didn't see all that set up.
So we were editing some of the hairier parts of the documentary when he would walk by, and it was a little tough at times. But it made. I mean, they to their credit, man, like both of those guys, like they knew exactly what was going on and just let it happen.
Yeah, they're super cool. It's funny, like...
I couldn't have done it, though.
Even thinking about that right now, just where they're at now is so incredible. And then I think about that Jake that I knew when I moved in.
You hated
or started working that.
How big of a change is there?
What was that?
How big of a change is there?
Oh, man, they're like...
Jake when you met him to where he is now.
Two different people, I'd say. Like... I look back at that. I don't really think about that. I don't like to think about all the negativity and stuff, but I think, like, you can't really... have a great story of redemption unless you show that negativity. And I think when you look back at that and you compare Jake to old Jake, it's just two different people, because he used to be very like, and you know him, so you know he was very crude and very rude and kind of obnoxious and stuff. But
we say sometimes that, like, you know, because it's no secret that, like, Dallas said that, like, if Jake didn't like the movie, it wasn't going anywhere. And you know, you can hear that and think, you know, oh, well, okay, then it's obviously going to be some sort of propaganda, and it wasn't. Not even close. That's why we were so scared worried and scared. Because we put so much work into it that night that Jake actually watched the movie, you know, I'm at home, like, I'm pacing up and down my street, and I'm just waiting
for the feedback.
Oh, yeah, man. And then we all knew it was coming, and then I saw my phone lit up, Jake Roberts, and I'm like...
What a second.
I remember that day.
I mean, it took me a minute to answer, and I pick it up, and I answer, and he goes... I watched the movie. All right. It's fucking great. And it's like, and you just go, I just melted, man, because you want to show it as real as possible, but you want to also show, like, what was truly the change in the sky. You know, the thing that we said was that, like, if the Jake in the beginning of the movie were to watch that movie, there's not a chance in hell. That Jake at the end of the movie is fortunately the guy that got to watch that movie.
Yeah.
And he dug it, man.
It's such, like, a beautiful story of redemption, especially just watching that. Not only just, like, seeing the movie, but we lived that movie. We were, like, there, and I think, like, we were on both sides of the camera, and he wasn't just, like, some subject of a documentary, but he became someone that was very close to us, where he wanted to, like...
Yeah, we tried. I tried. Well, I mean, like, I came in there with a philosophy, because, you know, I went to film school, so I got a philosophy.
Right.
And so I came in there.
What was the philosophy?
Yeah. You don't interact. You're just there to observe. Right. And you know what, man? I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I genuinely love that guy. I love those guys. And then it really hurt me whenever I saw them get hurt or stumble or have issues. I mean, like, that's the way Dylan and Garrett and Tyler, all those guys are, man.
Everyone.
Like Dylan's one of the other main editors on the piece. And he, I mean, like, he edited the movie and he had to go back through times that he lived. Tough times. Like, there's that scene that's in the kitchen and you hear the voicemail and everything. Like, that's him, man. That guy loves. That guy has nothing but love in his heart.
He has the biggest heart, yeah.
Oh, man.
Just like it's funny, like, this is the only project that I've, like, edited, like, through tears, you know what I mean? Because these are my friends and they're suffering and we're like editing as this goes, and, like, part of you is just like, man, I hope they make it through this, you know? Otherwise it just
Well, what do you think, Nathan, as a big wrestling fan, when you were first able to meet Jake and he shits on your hair?
Yeah.
And he's very crass towards you, but I mean, that was just Jake. And his
That's his humor.
Back end. So then Scott Hall rolls in. And so then what were your impressions of Scott Hall? I mean, because surely you were a huge Razor Ramon fan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think they were both kind of the same way. They were just like, you know, they were always just busting my balls and everything. And I knew that.
But when you first saw Scott, because when I first saw him, and don't get me wrong, when I saw, you know, Jake, that promoter put him in the ring, and Jake wasn't in a good way.
Yeah.
It was really hard to watch. And then when Scott rolls in, because, man, it almost seems like, man, only a minute since I hadn't seen Scott, but it's been hell over 10 years.
Definitely.
And I see him, he's just gray, and he's just decimated by the abuse that he's put himself through. And I'm like, wow, man, this is the guy. This was Razor. I mean, we're talking about the man, Scott Hall, but this was a guy who was a badass dude in the ring, was a man's man, and just had so much presence and was so dynamic, and he just wasn't in a good place.
Totally. For me, it's like, as a huge wrestling fan growing up, you see these guys, and they're superheroes to you. You know,
yeah.
It's like, man, these guys are invincible, and then you see them in this vulnerable state where they're broken, and it's just like, wow, these are human beings that have demons just like everybody else. And it was heartbreaking when I first met that, and I was like, man, like, and I'm someone that I believe, just because like I believe in redemption. I believe people can like overcome just whatever. And just knowing Dallas in that short amount of time, I knew that he was such a positive guy, and I knew that they would like pull through. And I was hoping for that.
What was your thoughts when Scott rolled in, Chris? Because you're a little bit removed from the picture.
Yeah, I mean, I only say, like, I remember him from TV, but my perspective on Scott was very, very different, because I couldn't really pull memories from him really quickly. So, like, when I met him, honestly, a super nice dude, like an incredibly nice guy. And I'm going through occasionally I like to go through my list of things that I'm like, I need to write that on my bucket list. And one of those things is that, like, it was really cool how during the process of working at DDP Yoga, being one of the first guys there, being in my little edit bay at the bottom of the stairs, editing things together, sometimes Scott would come around the corner and he'd have breakfast for me, or he'd have lunch for me, like stuff that he'd be like, man, dude, he goes, dude, what is that, bro? He's like, bro, you need to eat. Man, come on, man. I haven't seen you eat. You need to eat. And he would come and he'd just put on top of the keyboard or slide it right there. It's like, you need to eat.
Hey, man, I wasn't there, but I know he was right, because when you guys rolled into town today, we met in the parking lot at the Ingalls Supermarket. This little town of Hartwell, Georgia, I'm very endeared to this town. I love this town. There's probably about 10,000 people live here, and they got like a world-class supermarket, and the people that that work are really, really nice. So I met these cats at the parking lot, and I was going to help them get some groceries. And so I said, man, y'all get a basket, I'll get a basket, because I know all the shit I was going to put in mine. Hamburger, chicken, salmon, protein, green vegetables, all healthy stuff. And then Chris or Nathan grabbed a cart and is now pissed on the cart. He was going to grab a little cart. Then he picks up the basket.
Just
the dude walked with two guys, and they got one basket to throw all their shit in. I'm thinking, come on, guys, surely you need a shopping cart. You're going to be here for a total of 2 days.
Sorry, that was
and
me.
they bought a loaf of bread, some sandwich, some meat for the sandwiches, and some mayonnaise, and some Honey Nut Cheerios.
Oh, man.
That was more
and as soon as I saw that box, I had a flashback. It's a honey oven, it's Honey Nut Cheerios. You don't remember that commercial?
No.
Nathan's looking at me
that
like
was
I just
before
came
my
in from
time.
outer space. Oh, yeah, dude, the sales pitch for those was incredible. So y'all eat like shit.
Oh, that's me. I can't put Nathan. Nathan eats a lot better than I do. Sorry, Dallas. I tend to eat mainly sandwiches, and
I started busting chops. I said, hold it now. I said, y'all, if Dallas is here, y'all be eating all that organic shit like he does.
Yeah.
So y'all don't really stick to the diet regimen. How much are you guys into the yoga part of it?
For me, I've done it pretty regularly. I haven't done it this like past month or so, just because I've been so busy, which is not really an excuse. But I'm just like, I've just started back.
Dude, you
like
guys
this
work
past
your
week.
asses off. I went up there, man, and you guys like a blur. I got there, and then Chris asked me, hey, man, do you want to do some still photos? I'm like, man, first of all, I jumped at the opportunity because my publicist has been hammering me to get some pictures for 5 years, but I hate taking pictures. You want to roll a camera? Let's go. Pictures, I hate. I said, man, it's a great opportunity. Can't pass this up. All of a sudden, he snaps one picture off, and the way he captured it with that black background, I was like, man, this motherfucker bad. So we started snapping away. He's over laughing. He turned out some badass photos. But it was like you guys never stopped. So let's talk about the day-to-day goings-on up there, and we'll filter back in and out of the movie. But just as far as the day-to-day functions go now, I mean, because, man, like you said, you're a jack of all trades. We were talking about sound. We're fixing to record these guys tomorrow that are coming to the house. We're going to film it as well. What is y'all's day-to-day functions there at your place of employment?
Well, I'm
Dude, I mean, because y'all are filming stuff, y'all are recording stuff.
Yeah, we're just going really fast all the time. Like I said, Steve Yu is just like such a hard worker, and obviously you know that Dallas is such a hard worker. So, and we're hard workers, so we always just bounce off each other, and we're always just going 100 miles an hour.
Steve's so the way it kind of works is Steve oversees the entire company. Steve put me in charge of video production, so I oversee all of video production. Nathan is, I would say, my key shooter, key editor. Like, he's the guy. Like, Nathan's strength as a filmmaker, at least from my perspective, I've seen him do a lot of other great things, but this dude can edit like action montage. Like, he can turn like making a bowl of cereal into something that feels like action packed, just in crazy, amazing Michael Bay kind of crap. Like, it's awesome. Like, he's great at that. And then, but see, my background was always in, like, I started out as a producer, AD, got into the editing. That's how I made my bones. And then I wanted to hold a camera, and that's how I ended up at DDP Yoga. Was that, like, they said, yeah, man, you want to hold a camera? That's cool. And so I'd like to get the chance to. I wanted the chance to get paid to hold the camera, you know. So they let me do it.
So you dig holding the camera, though. You
I
like
love
creating all
holding
that
the camera.
stuff.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know that I liked photography until like last year, a little bit more than a year now. But I really love taking photos. But I love holding the camera. I love directing. Like, directing is that's my focus now.
But take me into the editing process. If we go back into the movie of Jake Roberts, I know Dylan. We mentioned some names a while ago. They work over at the Performance Center. So you got Dylan, yourself, Nathan working on this thing. I mean, like, if you got all these editors working on these bays on the same project, I mean,
different projects.
Oh, they're different projects.
All different projects. Yeah.
Okay, because I was wondering, because if you have a different strategy of how you go about,
kind of like swap. We like tag in and out of different projects.
Yep.
Because everybody has different. But then how does that doesn't that artistically change the flavor of what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, and this.
Or one of you guys do a pass, and the other guy make a pass, say, "Hey, how about this?"
Yeah. I think it does, and I think
it's the philosophy there too.
Yeah, I think we do change the style of it. I think that actually works for our benefit, because it's like you look at something a million times. It's like, cool, this is as good as it's going to get, and they're like, okay, let's get another guy's perspective on it, and we're going to make it just that much more better, or just have their perspective on the same kind of thing.
We'll shift out on who's the head or the lead on each thing, just because
man, how do you dictate that, man? Because especially when someone has such a strong opinion and they say,
Chris totally does.
We got to do this.
Yeah, I do, but that's only because like you have to have somebody that will just stop with the bullshit and just move it. And then like, so we'll tag in and out a lot of times because everybody has their own strength, and I prefer, instead of having one person get all the credit on everything, I prefer a team. I want everybody to get the credit for every bit of it. Like, we have, like, just to go quick, like, you know, Nathan and I, we do a lot of the shooting, a lot of editing. Dylan does a lot of editing. He is mostly an editor. He's a story guy too, but he is an incredibly emotional editor. Nick,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Nick is our nuts and bolts guy. He's also bats cleanup. A lot of times he comes in, he does the color or the audio tweaking, but he also kind of he'll ingest footage to make sure, because a lot of us are not organized. I'm going to say a lot of us, me mainly, not very organized. So I asked Nick to come in and he organized.
Dude, listen to you talk. I mean, you sound like a file cabinet with all the documents in order. How can you not be organized, especially with respect to what you do?
I you can ask these guys. I mean, like, I get so wrapped up in, like, okay, this is how it goes. This is what we need. This is how it needs to go. And then, so hopefully when people are listening to that, they're either taking notes or they're taking ownership. And if they don't, then we assign ownership. And so, like, Nathan will do a lot of other things that I know I'm weak at. Like, there's the black and white promo. That's the most recent one I could think of. That was his baby through and through. I held a camera. I did some lighting, but
what's this black and white promo you speak of?
Well, we did a video about the DDP Yoga Performance Center opening and everything, and so Dallas was like, "Hey, I want to do a quick promo, and I want it to be finished tomorrow." And we're like, "Okay, we'll just do something real quick." And
how long does the promo last?
It's about, I don't know, maybe like a minute long or something like that. But it was just a bunch of workouts and a bunch of cool stuff. We had Dallas like walk in super slow motion, just open
Hero
the door.
Shot.
It is just, it made it look super awesome.
But see, that's what
Dallas loved.
I got to bust his chops.
And that's what we do is we'll all swap around. And sometimes Dylan sometimes Dylan will have a really great idea. And he goes, "It'd be great if we got this for this piece." Like, and that's something that we like. That's very welcome, because like he's in it. He's editing it. He wasn't there for the shoot a lot of times, so he'll come up with a better idea. Like, we need this for this story to be good, and then we'll be like, "All right, cool, yeah, we'll go grab him. We'll do it. We'll go and figure out how we're gonna get it." And that's just how it happens. Like, there's very little ego when it comes to it. We do take a lot of pride in what we do, for sure.
Definitely. We all work very fast-paced together. Like, Chris always says that we're like the NASCAR pit crew of filmmaking, where it's like, oh, man, it'd be really cool if we had a shot of Dallas doing this. Okay, here it is. Like, we would just do it really fast, you know?
Yeah.
That's just how we work.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm sitting there talking to Nathan and Chris. We're in Lake Hartwell, Georgia. It's about 12:15 at night. We're going to come right back after pause for the calls, word from the sponsors, keep the show on the air for free. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about mixing in some sound, all this stuff they're talking about with the editing process. And then we're going to talk about some of the stuff that they do on their own. Breathing fire, like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat did when he'd make his entrance and spit the flames, or Gene Simmons of my favorite rock band Kiss spitting the flames on stage. These guys do that. Why? I have no idea, but you're going to find out why when we come back. All right, got to take a minute here and show a little love and appreciation to the great sponsors of the Steve Austin Show. These are the folks who let me do this podcast for free. So thanks to DraftKings. And you'll want to be thanking DraftKings yourself after you win some instant cash this weekend playing 1 week fantasy football at DraftKings.com. Even if your season-long team is rolling right now and your lineup is stacked because you got Aaron Rodgers, Jamal Charles, and Julio Jones, you still got to wait at least 13 more weeks to collect any dough. And 13 weeks is a long time, and anything can happen. So why not get paid this weekend playing 1 week fantasy at DraftKings? And if you use my promo code Steve, you can play for free. And play at DraftKings.com is easy. You just pick your players, pile up the points, and collect your cash. Plus, you ain't stuck with the same lineup each week. Hell, you ain't got to worry about injuries and bye weeks. And DraftKings has stepped up their game this season. The prizes are bigger, and they're crowning more millionaires than ever before. So get to DraftKings.com now, ASAP, and use the promo code Steve to play for free with your first deposit in this Sunday's $1 million fantasy football contest, where first place takes home 100 G's. Enter Steve for free entry now at DraftKings.com. I said DraftKings.com. All right, guys, here we go back at it again. We're talking about the editing process, which, again, this is not a DDP performance plug. Again, sorry, Stacey. Again, this is not a DDP Yoga Performance Center plug, but y'all work there. Yeah. I'm just enamored with the creative process because I've seen the dudes, Adam Panucci and the other people at WWE, put together so many badass videos of myself and all the other WWE superstars that they do on a day in, day out, week in, week out basis. Some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen. So now when you guys are doing what you do, and y'all crank out some badass shit too, when it comes to the sound, the music, how do you get around that? Do you find original music that, first of all, you like, but then you get around the trademark issues, or you use the music?
Yeah. Well, me and Chris.
That's a stupid question, but what's the story?
No. I mean, me and Chris come from a very we kind of come from the music industry a little bit. So we have a lot of friends who are musicians. Yeah. So there'll be times where we're editing a video where it's like, oh man, this guy lost 300 pounds. We're like, oh hey, I know a great song that my friend wrote that would fit this perfectly. And then we just call our buddies like, hey, can we use your song? Diamond Dallas Page think it'd be really cool. And of course they're gonna be like, oh yeah, of course, man, use my song. You don't even have to pay me, So usually that way.
So what's the story though? I mean, so they just use the exposure, or
some of the guys you do have to pay for, but you have to go through labels and all that stuff. Some of the guys that we go through, that's the exchange, the exposure. Like we have a pretty good audience base on YouTube and on Facebook, so like they get a lot of people that are listening to their music. And sometimes there's that one comment or two comments. They're like, "Who is this?" And we're like, "Oh, I'm glad you asked." and then other times it's stock music. We do stock music. Sometimes we...
Well, okay, define to my audience what stock music is. Because there's stock footage, define stock music.
Stock music is the music that...
I don't even know how to describe that.
It's basically, it's almost, I don't want to say generic music, but it's music without a name.
It's basically you go into a search engine for any of these stock music
It's
sites.
A bank, almost.
And then you say, I want something that is sad or dramatic or epic, and...
Type in the word awesome, and then you'll
cry.
Time sad.
But that's what was the word was? The music. Stock.
Stock,
Yeah, so that's what that and
it's
many
prearranged
times,
music. Yeah.
And many times in film you'll see stock footage where they might need some footage of the old trade centers when they were still up prior to 9/11. Okay, there's stock footage of that.
Aerial shots, memorials.
Exactly. And there's people that's how they make their living, going around doing stock footage. Okay, so now here's the deal. Nathan. man, you're a big heavy metal guy, punk rocker,
That's true.
and have this flavor for that type of music.
Absolutely.
So then, with respect to the drama that you guys are talking about, and some of the the soundtrack for the Jake the Snake thing is totally, dialed in, and it's tight, and it's what it is. Dude, how do you go about selecting music for stuff? And dude lost 300 pounds. I think this would be cool. Dude, you come from a metal background.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, you can't really play Slayer and show a weight loss story. So
Rated blood.
Yeah.
300 pounds.
Yeah.
I smell money. No,
that's right.
I love Slayer.
We know we haven't even tried that, so maybe we should work on a Slayer song or two to see how that works.
But it's not just 300-pound weight loss stories that we do at DDP Yoga, though.
Yeah, I mean, we're like all over the place with just different kind of like stories, but I guess it just depends on the mood. And I'm somebody, it's like, if it's very intense, for instance, I went and filmed like Ring of Honor, and it was like really intense, like wrestling and stuff. And so I'm like, okay, I want to have a soundtrack that goes completely against this. So I'd pick a really slow, sad song, and for some reason, the contrast just makes it very beautiful, and vice versa. If it's a very sad scene and it's like intense music.
Yeah, he does a very Kubrick kind of thing where he'll play something that's super intense, or like if the action is like super intense, the song over on top of it contrasts in the way that's like, man, this is really disturbing in a whole other way.
Okay, now you just said something very interesting. You mentioned director Stanley Kubrick's name. So then give me some reference to where you come from, to some of the things that you watched visually, Chris, that impacted or affected how you edit or what you see, or now as a director, the way you like to film and capture stuff or present stuff.
I started out originally I still am. I love Kevin Smith. I always loved Kevin Smith, but only because of how he got started was like, I got a little bit of money, I got friends, this is what's around me, this is what I'm going to make a movie about, and that's how Clerks was born. And I took that principle and just kind of kept moving through it in my life. It's like, well, write what you got. What do you got around you? And then that's kind of what I do. But a lot of the people that it kind of influenced me, and this is kind of not an okay thing, I guess, because it's friends. A lot of my friends are just so insanely good, talented, incredible filmmakers that like I look at what they do and I'm like, man, I could do that, I think. And then I'll ask them, like, hey man, do you mind if I try this? Do you mind if I try this or see this? Like, there's a couple of guys that like, I'll hit them up, like especially for photo stuff too. I'm like, man, I love that picture. What did you do? What was your lighting setup? Or what did you do to get this? Like, what caused that? And then they'll tell you, like, we love shit. That's the Thunderdome community. That's a lot of those people in that community. Is we are, as long as you don't rip anybody off, and that's never really a thing. You have to make sure.
How do you rip somebody off in y'all's world? Well, I'm giving an example of that.
I think the biggest way of ripping people off is just not giving them credit where credit is due. That's what I believe personally. It's not really a money thing. Because for me, it's like, I would do this for free, but it helps me pay my bills, so I love doing it.
I would wrestle for free too back in the day.
I freaking love it, man. But
a typical, I'll just take a really cliche thing, because this is not even this is a thing that's been ripped off time and time again. But it's like, let's say that for whatever reason, like shooting a performance piece that's all lit by hanging light bulbs. Like, that's the thing that happens. It's beautiful. It looks great. But, let's say it was the first time somebody did that, and then you saw somebody else that do that. And hey, man, appreciate you doing that, and you don't kind of let them know or ask them, say, hey man, I did this, I did a little bit of a different thing, just wanted to let you know. Like, it's not really kind of like rip it off. It is. You just kind of let them know, and then you ask them, and you just kind of get this kind of like, yeah man, that's cool. That was cool. Yeah, I really like what you did with that. And that's kind of how you get the approval of sorts. Like, but I don't think we've ever really ran into that though. At all.
I've never really had a problem with that. I think we have a really good community of people. Everyone kind of understands.
Is the Thunderdome still in existence?
Yes.
It is, yeah.
How many people live there?
It's 2 houses now.
Yeah,
it's 2 houses.
Expanded. It's growing.
It is.
Thunderdomes. It's now plural.
Thunderdomes.
Wait, do they have a name for that?
It's the Danger Zone.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's growing, and it's just what's really cool is the community. Man, I just really dig the community there. Like whenever we're hiring at DDP Yoga, we always obviously Nathan was the first one, but whenever we hire at DDP Yoga, I go there first. I call Isaac and say, hey man, you got anybody? And if Isaac says no, then I call Kyle and I say, Kyle, you got anybody? And then he says yes or no, and then we just go from there, man.
Yeah.
So what's back to Isaac, man? Because you
guys
look up this guy.
Yeah,
is he still making music videos in Atlanta?
He is.
He's done like Lecrae. Did that one get released?
Yeah.
So he did a really awesome video for Lecrae. He did Family Force 5. He's done some other bands? Eli.
Yeah, he did the country singer Joe Nichols. He did a documentary about when he went over to Iraq and stuff to perform for troops. So he did a documentary on him.
Was it about soccer? About the
man, you're a country fan. I'm a big Joe Nichols fan. He kind of fell off the map. What happened to that guy? I mean, he was on a roll.
I don't,
you don't know?
I don't know. I mean, he had a pretty good string of hits like last year or the year before that. Like, I'm a big Joe Nichols fan.
He was 2 and 3 years ago. Well, I mean, man, I was listening to this shit when I bought my ranch. I mean, his run has been kind of dried up for a while.
Yeah.
It's like he dried up. I mean, he just left the scene.
I don't know.
So no report of him.
No report of him. Yeah, that's
Joe,
more of an Isaac
get your shit
connection.
together, man. You're a damn good singer.
Come on, Joe.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about let's shift gears. Oh, I want to ask you one more question about the Jake movie. Chris, you run a camera. How much of that did you film? I mean, this is over the process of about a 3-year period.
Yeah, I filmed a lot. Like if it, I mean, we I feel like I kind of got to apologize a little bit, but I really don't. I need to stop because the whole thing. If you watch the movie, it's honestly like it's not the most beautifully shot documentary, but the reason is that it was to be as real and as in the moment as possible. Like that was the main goal and the main focus across the board, and that was something that we did not ever want to stray away from. So if the shot wasn't good, but the mood and what was actually happening was or was important to what was going on, that won. Every time.
Man, that's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting to hear you say that because, man, I never looked at it and said, man, that shot could have been better. It was all about the subject matter.
Exactly.
Totally.
So,
man, I'm down with what you're saying because I've been on sets, whether it was on movies or reality shows because people are looking for a certain shot or look. Yeah. But hey, man, it's all about what you're really trying to capture, and I thought that movie did that. So, over the course of 3 years, man, what changed from start to finish? And with not talking about Jake, but just with the process, because I mean, did it start off in one direction, and all of a sudden you think, okay, it's turning here?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean,
and sometimes that happens in the editing process because I mean, the editing process is sometimes your best friend.
Yeah, well, I mean, the movie was kind of canned a few times.
Yeah, it was. There were some points like Dallas always says, it's like if Jake doesn't like this, it's never going to be released.
Before that, I mean, if you watch in the movie, there's a couple of times where Jake falls off the wagon, or the times that, and that. When you're shooting, even you don't know what's going to happen because that's in the moment. So, like, of course, afterwards, we're like, okay, we're done. This is it.
Right.
Yeah, and speaking just of in the moment stuff, and when Chris was talking about how the shots kind of look weird, there'll be times where we'll be editing on our computers and stuff, and then we'll hear Dallas from downstairs like, Nathan, Chris, grab a camera, get down here, and then we'll like be running, and then there'll just be a crazy, intense moment. Then we'd have to bring out a camera and just hit record before we set white balance or anything else. It was so there's a lot of stuff where the color looks weird, and that's just because like we had to record or we'll miss the moment.
He's cutting it together. Yeah. They used to get
it's chaos.
Dylan used to give us a little crap because like I would always start rolling as soon like I'm editing, and then I'd hear Chris, and I'd hit record my camera, and you hear me just walking and running down the stairs, and then it's rough, but like he's putting something together right now that actually talks all about the behind the scenes, and you walking into like conflict a lot of times, sometimes, and so you like looking at it and you're like, all right, man, sorry.
So okay. So you just spoke about making the behind the scenes of Jake Snake Roberts. We're not going to go and talk about behind the scenes, but y'all are making one.
Yeah, man, it's a very different.
How gnarly is that? Because I know there's some pretty tense stuff that didn't make the final cut. I mean,
well, it's a lot of goofs. It's stuff,
and there's just a bunch of funny things that kind of happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's like we were doing like one of the things like you were saying earlier is like the fire stuff. So Nathan, like, I mean, you could talk more about how your qualifications for it because it's not backyard at all. I don't want to say that it's backyard or it's bootleg or anything what he does. But so we were doing this Halloween video because we want to, we like to keep things fun. So we do a lot of fun videos and stuff for DDP Yoga. But one of them was a Halloween video where we, got permission from Dallas to light him on fire in the house and walk down the hall. And so there was one bit where you're standing in front of Jake while he's watching a game.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and he lights his legs on fire.
And just Jake doesn't even react. That was funny because it's just like we told Dallas, we were like, hey, we want to start doing these videos and I'm going to light myself on fire because I do that a lot. And there was one time Jake was just laying on the couch, and then I walk up in front of Jake and I engulf myself in flames, and Jake just no-sells it, just like stares at me, just doesn't care that I'm on fire. It's like
stuff like that.
Would have been better if you were naked. It's like, thanks, Jake. Why do you always say that to me?
All right, I got to ask you a question, dude. I mean, man, the fire scares the shit out of me. A lot of people down there in South Texas, I got a ranch. A lot of people will do a burn on their ranch and kind of, put some nitrogen back in the ground and everything grows back fresh. They can get a lot more better reasons than that. But long story short, I don't fuck with fire because I don't like it, and it's hot and can mess you up. And you're a dude. How old are you? 25?
I'm 23.
23.
Yeah.
23 years old. I guess you're too young to know better than to set yourself on fire. What possessed you to want to start setting yourself on fire?
I was just
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just a bored redneck kid that all little redneck boys were like setting things on fire, and then just my.
Well, when you say redneck, you just mean from the country.
Yeah. I know I don't look country at all, but I come from a very southern background.
Yeah. Okay, explain to me this fascination with fire. I mean, because, dude, liking fire and having a cool campfire when it's about 40 degrees in Texas is cool. But when you're setting yourself on fire, it's a whole different ballgame.
Really is,
How do you go about the experimentation process without killing yourself on the first fucking go?
All right, yeah. I had little brothers, so they were my.
First of all, before Nathan, I gotta stop Nathan Mayer. Anybody listening to this podcast, do not fuck around with fire. No. Do not set yourself on fire. This is something this guy, we're going to continue to talk about it. He's perfected the technique, as much as I hate to say that. But by all means, if you listen to this show, do not fuck with goddamn.
Don't do it.
I'm putting out a disclaimer right here, now. This is an explicit content podcast, but don't do what this cat's doing. So how do you do it?
I was professionally trained. No,
no, that is true.
No, I was.
Yeah.
So I will.
Chris
went
to SCAD. You're over at the Burn Academy.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, just like I had a fascination with fire when I was a kid, and I was just that redneck kid who just burned things all the time. But when I moved to the Thunderdome, there was a guy who lived there named Andy who was an actual scientist. And he's like, hey.
He worked at the CDC.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, if you use this chemical or if you take this method and you do this and blah, 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 science, and I just didn't understand how it went over my head. I was like, cool, so you're saying I can do my little like redneck like backyard kind of technique, but I can do it in a way it won't hurt me. He's like, yeah, and then we kind of like test it out, and then it starts working. So like we went through this whole process, and just through the power of science, we were able to find out a little way of doing my fire technique, and now I just do that all the time. And I've been lighting myself on fire for a while.
You got the seal of approval from two people. You got it from Sin Bodhi, and then you got it from another dude who's a trained fire guy.
And then Sin Bodhi was Kazarni and like WWE and everything. He's like
to those people who this name passes by as a former professional wrestler, wrestled under Kazarni, Sin Bodhi.
Dude, he's awesome.
Okay, so tell me about this guy. What does he know about fire? What did he teach you? Did he inspire you?
Yeah, like a little bit, because like I'm a fan of like sideshow, freak show kind of stuff, and obviously a fan of wrestling. So of course I'm gonna like love just Sin Bodhi and stuff. And,
okay.
Yeah, and like
when he saw what you were, when he saw what he was doing, because he
takes it so seriously, and I love that, and I do too. I'm just joking around about the whole like being a redneck stuff. Yeah, and like.
What are you using? How are you doing it? What's going on?
This is somebody talking to you?
Yeah. And I really do take it seriously. I make jokes about like I'm being careless, but I'm not being careless. Yeah, I have my friend who's a scientist show me, and then I had another professional fire breather like show me, and then I went to Sin Bodhi and I was like, hey man, is this method right? And he was just like, yeah.
Let me ask you about this, because you're asking a pro wrestler if a method is right. And so a lot of times, when you learn to throw a steel chair or learn to blade, it's kind of on-the-job training.
Yeah.
The person that you're asking this knowledge from is not a rocket scientist. So what was Sin Bodhi's background that inspired you to have the confidence in what he was telling you?
Carney.
Yeah, he was just...
He's straight up Carney?
He's a straight up Carney.
He really is. And it's one of those things where...
Meaning he comes from the circus.
Yeah. Okay. You see someone swallow a sword, you're like, okay, well, I think he knows what he's doing, because otherwise you wouldn't do that if you didn't.
Okay, so what kind of knowledge did he drop on you?
Just... Well, I learned like fire breathing a little bit beforehand and everything, and then
it was like distance, how to spin,
just where to hold it, and just like where the flashpoint needs to take place, and all of that other stuff. So
and he learned it from other circus performers.
Right.
And he had the world's record for the number of watermelons cut with a
on a
samurai sword on somebody's bare stomach.
So the guy's crazy, but it's funny because he looks like a complete lunatic, but he takes the art so seriously.
Very serious.
Yeah, and he was someone who really inspired me to be like, all right, Nathan, like even though there is that technique, like it's still fire, and you could still like
Yeah.
Okay, that being said, what's the worst instance you had and a stunt gone bad?
Well, I know exactly where this is going. Yep. So I went to Colorado. Like, do you remember the story? Yeah.
Of course he does. He's laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went to my friends, and I was telling the technique. This is right after I learned how to do it like professionally, and with my roommate who was a scientist, and I told my other friends, and they're like, they're just the dumbest people in the world. So I made the mistake of telling them, and I fell asleep on their couch. And they're like, wouldn't it be hilarious if we sprayed Nathan while he was asleep? And so I was sleeping on the couch, and then they spray my jeans with this spray.
Way too much.
Way too much. And they didn't do the technique right. And so I start smelling these fumes. I was like, oh no, they've sprayed me with this. And then I feel like the light wakes me up, and I look, and then I'm just on fire. And it's immediately burning my legs. And I just freak out. And I get up, and I'm screaming, I'm rolling on the ground. It's the first time I ever dropped the F word in my life. So I think that was a pretty reasonable time to do that, you know? So
could have been in some serious trouble.
But that's
fire.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good time to drop your first F-bomb. But yeah, but outside of that, I've never really had any like.
So what'd you do? You wake up, you're on fire. You say fuck. What do you do?
Roll around like
drop
the
F-bomb.
I was like, what are you doing? And then like,
so dude, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you always hear stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah,
dude
I'm
just lit you on fire.
I'm kicking around, and they're trying to put me out.
You dropped to the ground though, right?
Yeah, and I did stop, drop, and roll.
Okay, now why they didn't want to put you out? They just lit you on fire. Did they recognize? Hey, man, we fucked up. We did something wrong.
They lit as soon as they lit on fire. They're like, well, this was a little bit more dangerous than I thought it would be.
Right.
They were not smart little lads there.
When you use these type chemicals that you've used, how fast can they be put out?
See, like, the method that I go about doing that, it usually lasts like 30 seconds, like, depending on, like, how much you want that. But when I do it, I always have, like, layers of clothing and stuff. Like, I'm wearing, like, 2 pairs of jeans or just, like, layers. So that way, on the off chance that it does burn through, I have, like, another layer of clothing, and I've done it like hundreds of times, and I've never been harmed at all. But I was
dude, what kind of? You're just wearing jeans? Because I was telling you guys a story earlier. I bought these little shitty polyester towels, and I tore the tag off them because I was going to be able to talk about this on the podcast. They're 99% polyester. I was trying to pull some salmon off the damn grill when you guys were coming over today, and I put it on the damn burner just long enough for it to just catch on fire and melt. And it's the second time I've done it out there.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, first of all, I'm a pretty damn cook. I fucked up 2 times and dropped some salmon on the damn pavement. But my question to you is,
that's hard,
dude, what about wearing some kind of flame retardant suit that like a race car driver or a stuntman would use?
You kind of do now.
Yeah, I mean, I just use like thicker material things. I just get like Dickies jackets and stuff.
I know,
like
but
that.
if you'd have had on a towel or a suit that's made out of polyester, that shit would have melted to your skin.
What?
The polyester.
Polyester?
There was a polyester pants.
Yeah, polyester is super flammable.
It's with my brother, right?
Yeah,
did you learn that the hard way?
You know, there's been a few trial and error in my day. No, my neighbor had this like prom suit from the 70s where it was just full on just polyester. So he was like, "Hey man, do you want to burn this?" I was like, "Sure, I'll just light it on fire." And I had layers of clothing on, and if I didn't have layers of clothing on, it would have been really bad. Yeah, I would have not been here.
Okay, talk about spitting the flames. What's the story behind that?
One of my friends, Anthony Harrison, who's a professional like stunt performer and stuff, taught me how to, spit fire. And the liquid that you use in order to do this is it's not supposed to be in your mouth, and instinctively your brain's like, this is not supposed to be in your mouth right now. And so just like with the technique, I remember like holding it, just getting like really just anxious because it's like your body's freaking out because it's obviously super dangerous to do. And just through the method of trying it with water several times, and then I just learned that way.
Yeah, I mean so when I was learning from this guy, from Nathan,
Chris, you do it too?
Yeah. Well,
the whole time I'm thinking that Nathan just is fire breathing because I thought you were filming this. So we
do. We both film it
too. Both, yeah.
So what possessed you to want to learn? The fact that he was doing it? You guys are buds?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
what's your take on this? Because you got a damn degree.
I mean, I think it's awesome. That's the whole reason why how we ended up even working with Dallas and all. I was like, man, this is really weird. Let's try it. Let's see it. Let's see how this goes. And so that's how the fire breathing thing came about. Is like he did it, and he said that he could, when he did it, and he explained it to me, and I looked it up, and then talked to Sin, and then he taught me, and I had to I had to go through like a lot of water. Like I had to spit it out a lot, and he would double check me, triple check me, making sure that each time I was doing it, I was doing it the right way before he would even allow me to do it.
When you say the right way, is it within cutting off the flow so that once that spark lit, you don't have a backdraft, so to speak, to light what's left in your mouth?
Definitely.
I mean, that's
there's a certain.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, there's like a trick.
You don't
want
it to trail back.
Right. Yeah. Like I would explain the method, but I don't want anyone listening to trying it. But like there is like a certain method that you would do, and that's why we had to practice with like water. Yeah, and you do want to be super aggressive with it.
And aggressive.
Yeah.
It's tough. It is extremely tough.
Because you want to make sure that torch is so far away from your face.
Yep.
Because if it's close, then you're done. You're fried. You know, like spitting.
So like this is obviously something I've seen people do on TV and a couple of performances, whatever. But so how often do you guys go about doing this stuff?
We're doing it pretty frequent for a little bit.
Yeah, like last year, like I was doing it like all the time, at least like once or twice a week. Now I'm kind of slowed down just a little bit, just mainly because we've been busy. But I'm trying to get back into a little bit more. I'm always playing with fire though. I'm trying to expand that skill set, if you would call it a skill set.
We were getting adventurous with because there was a little bit before my place. We were doing a little bit of spraying him to get him to be able to light. So on his jacket, we'd spray the jacket, and then I would take the gloves that'll also be lit, and then I would breathe into the gloves to shoot it onto his back and to just kind of cause this nice little flame silhouette. We actually have video of that somewhere.
Yeah,
and it's pretty cool.
You spit fire out of your mouth, and it sets me on fire with the chemical that I wear.
The pinata.
Yeah,
the pinata?
Definitely.
So we bought a pinata for a little skit a sketch that he wanted to do, and so at the end of the shoot, like we waited for it to get a little dark, and then he actually it was in the middle of the day. Anyway, he so basically just sprayed did we spray the pinata at all? We didn't.
No.
He basically got a good distance away from the pinata, spit fire onto it, lit the thing on fire. It fell to the ground. We got it at 120 frames. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Fire looks really pretty on camera.
Yeah, the technique of film comes back into play.
Yeah.
So, dude, I mean, and no pun intended, obviously, you guys are playing with fire, and it's not if you get burned, it's when you get burned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all keeping us on the up and up. I mean, that's some bad shit. There's nothing good that can come out of this.
Yeah.
Obviously,
cool
you guys
video.
like saying you're professional performers. That's what it is. I guess because you guys are just talking about such a carefree manner, it scares the shit out of me.
We don't play around with it at
all.
Oh no, yeah.
Okay, so just so my audience knows. I mean,
I'm trained and respect the fire.
And then if you look at any of the videos that we've done off screen, you'll see, or you won't see, but off screen there's blankets, damp towels. There's buckets, not buckets, but the gallon.
We're definitely prepared.
Water. Totally prepared. Like the last thing that we shot, just as an example, was that the last thing we shot on my bike when you were riding on the bike, the flame lasts a little bit longer. He jumps off, he rolls. I run over there and I just throwing it on him, just making sure he's out. Yeah, man.
Just creating the illusion of danger, making it look as dangerous as possible.
It's very
similar to wrestling in that way.
Safe as it possibly can be. Yeah, when you're dealing with fire.
Okay, now we're done with the fire thing, and just for the last thing, I just want to say, man, if you listen to my voice, man, don't do this. These guys have been trained; they know what the fuck they're doing. So do not do this. Don't even attempt it.
No, not at all.
I will find you.
Dude, what other kind of things you guys into before we wrap this thing up? Because I want to know, where you're going, where you're going to be in 5 and 10 years. But what else you guys do to try to kill time over there? Because you don't got no time on your hands. Every time I pass by, you're working your asses over there. You get to fuck around with some flames. Nathan, you're a hardcore metalhead. Chris, what's your passions other than film?
We do a lot of music videos together. We shoot a lot of music videos. We write music videos.
With what bands?
Well, we just finished up with Zach Rudolph. And then who did you do before that?
I did a video for a band called The Hope Effect, which was fun. I bought a trampoline and put it in my living room and threw a big old house party for this punk band, and it was kind of fun. So
you got a trampoline in your living room?
I do, yeah.
He did, yeah.
That was a great time.
You did. Is there a couple of holes in the ceiling?
There's a lofty ceiling.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty high ceiling. So
it better be.
As soon as I moved into that house, I was like, I could put a trampoline in here.
Yeah.
But then
dude, you fucked up. As soon as you walk into a big ass house, the first thing you want to do is put a trampoline in it. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
Yep. And then before that, I did work with Southern Ground, so I did some Zach Brown band. and Blackberry Smoke.
Well, I've been hearing a lot about Blackberry Smoke, but I haven't really heard them. Are they badass?
Awesome.
Everybody says they're awesome.
Super sick,
dude. If you like some old school classic like rock, I mean, it is awesome. They are awesome. Like I really love their music.
Totally, just like your taste. You were telling me earlier that'd be right up your alley for sure.
I'm gonna give them a check.
Totally,
look at
yeah.
Okay, so you guys are right here, right now. We're gonna film some shit tomorrow and take some pictures and help me out. And we'll record 3 and 20 band. We know that Nathan's 23 years old. Chris, how old are you?
30.
You're 30. Okay.
Yeah. You sounded so sad saying that.
He's the old guy of the pair. Okay, Chris, you're 30 years old. Where will you be in 10 years? Where would you want to be? We don't know where you will be. Where would you want to be?
I like what's going on right now. I love what I do. I just want to do more of it and bigger and better. Yeah. I love it, man. Like we get to do.
But in that
so
world,
much.
I mean, what is bigger and better, and what's the advancement stage? I mean, like for me, starting off in Dallas, Texas, and then going to Tennessee, and then coming to Atlanta, and then, man, a step down to ECW. With respect, I say that because I learned so much there, and then a call to the big show. So, how do you expand, or make the dream bigger?
I mean, I honestly, I wouldn't have said this before, but I think my trajectory is like I really love directing a lot, and I love being able to direct in the way that I do at a company like DDP Yoga, and I've started doing a little bit at other places, but it's really just being a kind of consultant of like, this is how you brand, this is what you do. Like, yes, you're all about weight loss, you're all about this, but this is the fun, and that's what I learned from Steve, is that you also have personalities, you have people here that nobody wants to be beaten over the head over weight loss. They want to see that you guys have fun and you have personality, you have other things going on, and that's something I want to do. Is I want to just do that on a bigger scale. I want to do that for a lot of people and more people, more companies. It's like to really kind of say this is what branding could look like, and this is how your people that are working for you can have fun doing it, and how people can actually kind of gravitate towards your brand in that way of like, I like this brand not because they got cool shit, but because they got cool people too.
What about you, Nathan? Man, when I was 23 years old, man, I was just now starting to be trained to be in the business of pro wrestling. If you asked me in 10 years where I wanted to be, I guess I'd say higher up on the card.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was young back then. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Obviously, you know what you're doing, but you're at a young age. 10 years. You'll be 3 years older than Chris is now. What would you like to be doing?
It's crazy. Like when I was a kid, I was like, man, I want to do video full time, and I want to somehow be involved in pro wrestling. And I'm doing that now, and I love it, and I don't want to change anything. But if I could, like Chris just said, I would just want to do it like on a bigger scale, direct more music videos, just get more outlandish with my ideas, go from putting a trampoline in my living room to maybe something even bigger than that, and just have a lot of fun and just turn it into a video and just work with wrestlers more, because I love the whole like professional wrestling world, and I just have such a huge passion for it. I want just music videos and just to work in that world of professional wrestling in some shape or form.
Quick question for both of you guys. When you talk about making music videos, and you mentioned all the different genres of music that y'all have, if you're working on a video, because you're hardcore country as well, but then you mentioned a couple of bands. Well, Blackberry Smoke is country.
I mean, I worked with us. I have a lot of respect for that music, but if I were to pop something on, it's most likely Modest Mouse or Cake, to annoyance to some.
And name some of your favorite bands right now.
Cake and Modest Mouse, Butch Walker, Marvelous 3. Like
I'm so out of touch. What kind of music is that?
It's Butch Walker's more like pop punk, more pop than punk, and then Modest Mouse is garage rock. It's throwback. It's very raw. Cloud Coal. I really like Cloud Coal. Yeah. But Modest Mouse is definitely that's my go-to.
Okay, then with respect to what you're saying, I guess the point of the question I want to ask you is, if you're working on a hip hop movie or something that Isaac would work on, or for Blackberry Smoke, I mean, how does your personal taste in music affect a video that you're working on, which might not have anything to do? I mean, you might not even dig the music, but you got picked to make the video.
Yeah. Well, the way it might be a little bit different what you do, but my approach is I always find it like the same thing when I do interviews. Like I did a lot of the interviews in the movie when I interview people for DDP Yoga or for anything else, is I find a reason why I'm interested in interviewing them. I don't just interview them because it's what I have to do or why I was picked to do the video or anything. It's like find why I really dig it. It's like, oh man, they really do this thing cool. It's really awesome. It's great. And then I just figure out a reason why I really like it or why I can get along with it. I don't have much hate in me at all, so I love a lot of things, man.
But then again, almost what you're saying is it ain't about the music. It is about the music, but it's about
if the person's interested in it and person is really jived about like are really cool about like what they want and what they like and what they want to do. If they're excited, I feel that excitement and I just feed it right back and I get excited for them because I want to do, I want to do something great.
All right, so we got the 10-year trajectory plan for Chris and Nathan here, but right now we're on a one-day trajectory plan because tomorrow we're going to film some stuff with the Kawasaki jet ski, the 310LX. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys know this or not. I know you're into fire, but if you're into water and you're into personal watercraft, this is the most powerful jet ski on planet Earth. Now, Chris, you had some crazy ideas. Let's call them some interesting ideas because we're talking about a worldwide brand here. You got some interesting ideas about filming this thing in the water as I ride around it, and we're going to try to capture some cool images. Let's say that for the jet ski, and we'll take some still shots, and then we're going to record the 3 and 20 band. So I played a little bit of those guys' music for you. This is not a plug for them, but what do you guys anticipate tomorrow? Because they're going to come in here, they're going to be doing live acoustic, and you guys got microphones and shit everywhere around here. Yep. Do you have any trepidation about how we're going to be able to capture the sound quality of what these guys are going to do?
Nah. It's going to be good. Like we got it covered on our end, and from what it sounds like, they're going to – I mean, they were good, dude. That was really awesome.
Yeah, that guy's voice was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty stoked just because we're all about film and music. That's like our other like passion, just kind of doing music stuff.
The guy kind of like a Kid Rock, Uncle Cracker, and then occasionally Blues Travelers. Like, it was –
throw some rap in there.
Dude, it was awesome, but it wasn't – I mean, it was a really good mix, man. Like, that guy's got a sick voice.
Yeah, man, those dudes good. And it's two guys. Yeah. It's Butch and it's Adrian to do the vocals. The other guys are good harmony, but they all play good. So it's going to be interesting to see what they churn out for us. And basically, it's going to be like a 2-hour bullshit session. We'll see how, we chop this thing up, make something of it. But at the end of the day, it's going to turn into a podcast. I noticed that when you did your setup, when we were doing the podcast over there at the DDP Yoga Performance Center, y'all running 3 Canon 5Ds while we were talking. And so in place here, we're going to be running one 5D to capture this and a GoPro.
No, we'll definitely have a GoPro. And that's just so that we can have something that's a little bit more behind the scenes.
Yeah,
two
A7 thing.
Two A7Ss this time because that's our personal gear.
Okay, so what are you running?
Sony A7S.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about this camera because y'all were using this. Y'all came down to the show with me tonight, and man, you were filming in real low light conditions. Tell me about the capabilities of this thing because man, I can't do shit like that with my little SLR.
Yeah,
I freaking love the Sony A7S just mainly because of that low light because you can pretty much go out and shoot in almost like pitch blackness and still get an image. Like,
well, I mean, the big thing about it, like, it's a game changer when it comes to shooting like concerts or shooting things like behind the scenes at the show, because I don't know what they did differently, but I used to shoot almost exclusively 5D Mark III. That's my jam. But then I bought the A7S on the or somebody told us that it was a really good camera that they had been shooting with.
I loved it.
Well, it's something about it, like at what would be considered too high for the 5D or for most DSLRs, this camera just doesn't even blink an eye at. It's great. It's fantastic in low light. It's fantastic.
Okay, what's the body of that camera cost?
It's about
5. What's 25?
It's probably about 2 now. I'd say.
Yeah,
about $2,000 now.
Yeah, 2 to
for the
25.
body.
Oh, damn, that's a high-dollar camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for what it does, it's so worth it.
Okay, but that's just the body, or is that because we weren't talking lens?
Yeah, the lens. I mean, like what we do a lot of times because we have.
But you had a pretty long lens on that.
Yeah, I got a Sigma 70-200 that I use. I love it, but I got it with the Speed Booster, which is the Metabones, and that's something that like if you have a couple of like really crappy kit lenses, it turns it into a really nice lens at the end of the day. Like that Canon 24-105 that's sitting next to you right now. That lens, it's not really great. It's like the fastest it is at a 4, but when you put the Speed Booster, it goes to a 2.8. So now it's doing a lot better in low light, and it keeps the autofocus, the stabilization, everything connected to the Sony. It's a fantastic camera, man. Yeah. That lens, I think,
highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So then, if you guys are, it's all shooting on the same type SD card.
Yep. Well, no, the 5D we use SanDisk. This is way too technical, I think, but the Sonys we shoot at like the high speed extreme disc for the SD cards for the A7S, and then through the body it's only 1080p, but you can get an exterior recorder through the HDMI and outputs at 4K, so like it's got an upgrade in it, which is what you really want. You want your gear to last a little bit longer than what you
I'm going to tell you people who speak on the same and think on the same brain level as I do. I know because Einstein proved E equals MC squared. I get it, but I don't understand a damn word he just said, but it sounded like some badass shit.
Yeah. It's a great camera.
There's at least one nerd out there that's just like, I understand.
Yeah.
I get you.
God damn, I can't believe Steve had those guys are talking that crazy technology.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
All right, we're going to ride off into the sunset. It was a pleasure having Chris and Nathan on the show. We'll see what happens to them down the road in 5 or 10 years, where they end up. Right now, they're down there cranking out some badass shit with my buddy Diamond Dallas Page down at the DDP Yoga Performance Center. We're filming 3 and 20 tomorrow. We done said that 16 times. It's time to ride off into the sunset. It is 1 o'clock in the morning. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you doing the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's great.
We're out. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up his podcast. I want to say thank you very much to Chris Carey, at Chris Carey, ChrisCarey, on Twitter. Instagram, he is Vancar TV, VANCAR TV. His website is vancartv.com. Needs a little bit of updating, but you can see what that talented cat is up to. Nathan's information on Twitter, Nathan Mowery, NathanMowery. Instagram is the same thing, Nathan Mowery. 2 badass cats that really helped me out a lot. And recording the 3 and 20 band, recording some badass jet ski footage, and they were just a pleasure to be around. Diamond Dallas Page has surrounded himself with some great talent down there at the DDP Yoga Performance Center. I appreciate him letting me borrow these guys for a couple of days, and they work their asses off, and they're both class acts. Chris also has a YouTube channel, and it's youtube.com/DallaPage. That's not a misspelling. youtube.com/DALLAPAGE. So that's their YouTube information. I had a great time hanging out with those guys. And without any further ado, let me go ahead and just say 3 and 20 band, like I said in the opening of the show, they're going to be my guests next week. And because they're going to be my guests next week, I figured I'd play the song of the day. And we're going to catch Country Bar Song at about the 2-minute and 48-second mark in the song. So go to YouTube, type in 3 and 20 band, Country Bar Song, or type in Country Bar Song, 3 and 20. It's a badass song. If you love badass music that comes from a heart and soul, this is it. It crosses over and transcends any genre. You can't put this music in a box, but you can always call it badass. But I dig it the most. Here's a little bit of Country Bar Song. Again, we catch this about midway through. You owe it to yourself. Go to YouTube and check out this video. They're going to be on the podcast coming up this Thursday. Give them about 4 minutes and 51 seconds of your life. I think you'll be a fan.
Nothing left, drink another while the time flies by. Bright light in the night sky, it's the man in the moonshine, sun in his eyes. Looking down on other people as equal till he heard a fella picking strings. Shadowing the dark guitar in his hand, could have been on Hank by the way he sings. Now we got a new anthem, we dancing, swinging and drinking beer. What's that sound? They shutting it down, ain't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. When I got home, she was already gone and nothing was left of the place. She left a note, said, walk to the mirror now, look at the look on your face.
Oh, hell yeah. 3 and 20 band coming to the Steve Austin Show next Thursday. You guys going to dig this thing. You talk about a great bullshit session. We just sat down. This podcast has been about a year in the making, and I've been keeping up with Butch on Twitter and calling each other, and I got their CD stuck in my tractor. It ain't stuck. It's there because I want it there. I listen to those guys the whole time while I'm down there mowing and shredding and doing all my stuff. So they're my guests coming up. Check out that song. And with that being said, I want to say thank you very much for hitting the download button 2 times every week. Once on Tuesdays for the Family Friendly Show and again on Thursdays for Unleashed. And I know you guys know that it takes a few ducats to keep these shows running. Podcast One's got to pay those gimmicks they send in the mail call bills. I want to thank you guys for helping me out by supporting all of the great sponsors of the Steve Austin Show and by linking to Amazon through the Support Our Show Sponsors banner at podcastone.com every time you do your shopping. We've got Amazon links for Canada, the UK, and the United States. Just go to podcastone.com, click the Support Our Show Sponsors banner, and then click on the Steve Austin Show. All of my badass sponsors are there. All of my Amazon links are there too. Amazon kicks back a few bucks every time you guys make a purchase to Podcast One by using those links. You ain't got to buy nothing special. I'm not asking for your money, but if you want to support the show, these things are free for you. We bust our ass trying to give you the best kind of audio whoop-ass we can every single time we crank out a show. Sometimes you serve out chicken shit when you're trying to make chicken salad, but that's just the way it be sometimes. As Iceman King Parsons used to say, like Mama says, it bees that way sometimes. Anyway, bookmark a sumbitch. That way you can find it easier. And while you're there, you might want to check out all the great sponsors of the Steve Austin Podcast. Onnit.com. Use my promo code Steve to get 10% off your order. I might even send a steel chair shot with that. DraftKings.com. Use my promo code Steve to play for free. And DDP Yoga. Get a great deal at ddpyoga.com/Austin. With that being said, my name is Steve motherfucking Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson. During testimony today before the House Select Committee on Benghazi, former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton defended her actions before, during, and after a 2012 terrorist attack on the U.S. consulate that left 4 Americans, including the ambassador, dead.
I've thought more about what happened than all of you put together. I've lost more sleep than all of you put together.
Clinton's testimony triggered partisan sniping in the committee between Democratic member Adam Smith and Republican Mike Pompeo.
It is a prosecution. It is a partisan exercise. It is not trying to investigate and find out the truth.
They say they want to get at the truth, but the truth of the matter is they spent most of their time today, anybody can rewind the tape and find they spent most of their time today attacking members of this committee in this process, and I regret that. I think that's a violation of their duty to the country and, most importantly, their duty to the families.
AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson.